All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashir HaKodash, the honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, honors and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing his word in truth and sincerity. All right, this is the brother Tawab Rashah from GMS Los Angeles / Inland Empire, coming back with another video in the spirit. And once again, the water Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, for opening my eyes to his truth, allow me to wake up another day and putting the spirit on me to do another lesson in hopes to edify the hopeful elect. Okay, so I'm gonna title this video "The Truth." This truth is all about sacrifice. You know, the moment that we come into this thing, you know, we make sacrifices. Sacrifices. You know, when it comes, time with being our family, being with our family. Our own desires in this world. Okay. There may be certain opportunities for, to make, carnal gains. But if those carnal gains interfere with, with doing the work of the Lord, serving the Lord, then we have to sacrifice that. We have to basically deny those things. Okay. And we're learning these things every day that we're in this truth. Every day is a learning process. Okay. And the moment that we, like I said, the moment we came in this thing to this very point we're at now, different brothers came in different times, think back the moment, we came into this truth, the things that we held dear to us in the world, things that were a major part of our life, we had to sacrifice those things, and those of us that have been around for a while, especially the apostle elders, they've been around, for decades. But us brothers that's, been around for a little bit, we're really seeing that the benefits and the results of separating ourselves from this world and cutting off those things that we were used to, the things that we used to be into, to get closer to the Lord, and the scriptures speak about, bringing a sacrifice that's, being acceptable, just paraphrasing, so we want to make sure, that we're giving, this truth that we've been given, this knowledge, this faith that we're in. We want to make sure that we're giving our all, we want to make sure that, we're not half-assing. We're not being impartial with our belief in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. We want to make sure that this is our number one priority. Okay. And in the process of that, things are going to have to be cut off, especially if things are becoming a hindrance, for our development in this truth, and like I said, it comes with time. Some brothers develop quicker than other brothers, but the point is getting to that point where certain things can't, get in the way with us serving Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. So I'm just going to bring out a few scriptures, and I pray this be edifying to you sincere brothers as well as you few sisters. So the first scripture I'm going to start with is Romans chapter 12, verse 1. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. Okay, now we always bring this out, going to camp, being out there on the highways and byways, we're like a sacrifice. We're sacrificing our lives when we go out there because anything could happen, and also, being in this truth in general, we want to make sure, we're walking in this thing the right way. Now, does that mean we're going to be perfect? No. Brothers are going to make mistakes, okay? Because how can you grow, being perfect? How can you develop in this truth without mistakes? You can't. You have to make mistakes. You have to go through things. You have to experience trial and error. That's how you're able to gain wisdom. You gain wisdom through experience, and experiences doesn't mean you experience something once and then you understand it. You have to experience things over and over and over again, just, the elders and men that are called elders have a great experience. They have, years worth of experience. So with that comes a year's worth of wisdom. That's a lot of wisdom, and us brothers that's young, that's, growing in the spirit, we're gaining those things day by day, and the more that we go through, the more trial and error that we experience, okay, the more wisdom we gain and the more we understand, the sacrifice, okay, the sacrifice aspect, we become closer to the Lord to where, it's not an issue to cut certain things off, especially when, like I said, we know it's a hindrance to serving the Lord. All right. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. So this is our reasonable service. Okay. The Lord's not asking us to do anything that's non-reasonable. Okay. It's not unreasonable to go out there on the highways and byways and teach this word. It's not unreasonable to do our shows daily, to the best of our ability. Okay. It's not unreasonable, to be a brother. Okay. It's not unreasonable. Okay. To, be diligent, be diligent in his work, just think about the times that when we was in this world, we were totally given over to our flesh. We were totally diligent when it came, to all the worldly things in this society, but now that we've been returned to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, we got to be that much more lit and on fire towards the Lord, man. You know what I'm saying? Because when the Lord returns, the Lord is only going to come back for those that have, really been seeking after him, the ones that are thinking upon the Lord, the ones that are really calling upon him, praising him, praying to him, keeping that line of communication open with the Lord through our prayers, also fasting, okay, keeping the law, statute, commandments to the best of our ability. Okay, that's who the Lord is coming back for, man. That's all a part of the sacrifice. And then there's gonna come events in our life where we're gonna have to make choices, man. Okay, what's more important? It's always gonna be those situations that's gonna try us and test us to see where our affection truly lies, man. And if our affection truly lies in this truth, no matter what we experience and what we go through, all our decisions is gonna be determined by this truth, by this word. Okay, every choice we make is going to be in the direction of what the word says. All right, but like I said, that comes with time and experience, and we're in a time where now time is short, so the margin of error is very thin. Because now we're in an age where you know Esau has all these snares and traps out here, you know, and a lot of these people have spirits on them, demons on them. So a lot of people are going to be doing things to try to get us to lose our cool, and easier said than done because we all in this flesh. Sometimes brothers may lose their cool, because we're none of us are perfect, That's why we need Yahweh Shai, because this flesh ain't no good, But there is a limit, though. There is a line that we cannot cross. Okay, don't get me wrong, But for the most part, we just gotta be mindful of these things, especially in these times. All right, second verse, it says, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Like I said, that's part of the sacrifice. Us renewing our mind, the way we think, the way we process things, it can't be the same way how we, used to be in the world. Okay, how we used to view things, how we used to go about handling things. Okay, because this truth is going to make you or break you. This truth is either going to force you to get your act together, or it's going to cause you to crash out, because this truth is a heavy responsibility that's laid upon us. Okay, because we're held to a higher standard. Okay, that's why a lot of individuals, after a while, they become disenchanted. They get offended because of the standard that we have to live by. But they see those individuals, they don't understand, that this thing is a fight. Okay, if a brother slips, if a brother slips, and when I say slip, I don't mean no committing adultery or doing no crazy shit like that. But I'm talking about as far as slip up as you might forget it's a Shabbat, you might cook, or you may eat you may eat some pork or some abominations, unknowingly. You may eat something and you find out that it had some abominations in it, because it's impossible to keep the laws perfect in this society. Okay, but our heart, our mind is is sincere towards the Lord. We don't want to go off in this place, but that's the point. If you're if we're sincere and we're genuine within, it's going to show by our actions, man, and how we move out here. Okay, so like I said, when we was in the world, we was bound to the flesh. We was bound to the flesh. But now we're supposed to be bound to the spirit now. Okay? It says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what that is good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. You see that? So we have to transform when we come into this thing, and like I said, it's a process. If you look at yourself, from the moment you came in to the moment that you're here now, you're gonna notice, growth. Okay, especially if you're, doing the right things. If you're actually applying yourself, you're gonna notice where the Lord has strengthened you in. Okay, opposed to how compared to how you were in the world or when you first came into this truth, you're gonna see those differences. Okay, and then you're gonna realize too the points where you were weak at. You're gonna realize, okay, this is why I used to struggle with, in the world. And when I first came in, now I can see the Lord is build me up in this area, and I'm not having those same issues, or those I'm not, we're not getting tripped up by those same particular things that we used to get tripped up when we were when we were in the world, or when we first came into the truth. Okay, and that's a beautiful thing, because a lot of our people out here, they don't have that. Jake in the world is just totally gone. Jake is lost in the sauce. Jake has no sense of direction. That's why they're easily just tossed to and fro, out here, and that's, just another reason, of the many reasons and innumerable reasons to praise Yahweh Shemi Awashai, man. That, the Lord didn't leave us out there to, be given over to all this madness out here, man. Have no sense of direction, just out here lost in complete utter darkness, man. So like I said, man, this thing is all about a sacrifice, man. Okay. And, a lot of sacrifices have to be made in order to, to become that new creature, to become that new person, All right, this is Luke chapter 14, verse 26. And this is another aspect of sacrifice. It says, and if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yet in his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. You see that? So, and I always bring this scripture out because this is Yahweh Shai saying these things. This is how invested we have to be into this thing. This thing is deadly serious. I can't read the scripture enough. Okay. We can't treat the truth. It's like Jake in the world. Jake go to church on Sunday, these so-called churches, and throughout, they'll go sit before them false pastors, okay, and then those churches get lied to, and then after Sunday, the rest of the week, they doing wherever the hell they want to do. They doing whatever they want to do. Even Jake eating abominations, Jake committing adultery, okay, Jake worshiping other idols, keeping these holidays, just totally lost. Don't have no kind of structure, no kind of morals, and not even understanding what's in that book, the Bible. Okay, not keeping the commandments. We supposed to keep the commandments. Jake don't know that. Jake think they can eat pork. Okay, Jake don't know about keeping the Sabbath. And we can't even keep the Sabbath perfect. Those of us that's in the truth, if you a brother that got a job or you work, there's days that you have to work on the Sabbath, because brothers ain't got it like that. A lot of brothers ain't got it like that where they can take the Sabbath off and keep it, perfect. So my point is, in this lesson is, to be sincere, man. Just be sincere. We got to be sincere in serving the Lord, man. so that our sacrifice is acceptable in the eyes of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. You know, because the Lord knows, man. He knows our hearts. He knows our inner man. He knows if, you know, if this is our, if our heart, our mind is truly fixated on His word. He knows if we, you know, where our affections lie. Okay. If our affections lie in this world, the Lord knows that. If our affections lie in this truth, the Lord knows that. You know, so we just got to make sure, you know, we offering acceptable sacrifice. Lord willing, the Lord deems it acceptable, because at the end of the day, you know, it's all the Lord determines who's going to be of the elect or not. You know, all we can do is do our part, you know, do the best we can. Lord willing, the Lord have mercy upon us, you know, but we have to, you know, to give that diligence, you know, we have to work at it, man. Faith without works is dead, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I just went real quick to the point. Like I said, I pray this is edifying to you sincere brothers, as well as you few sisters out there. Stay strong, keep fighting. We almost out of here. So with that, I'm gonna give all glory and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem HaKodash, the honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, honors and salutations to the hopeful elect, which is word, truth, sincerity. Shalom.